It was almost midnight when the echo of a woman's soft crying broke the silence of the hospital corridor. The janitor paused mid-sweep, his old broom stilling on the polished floor. He'd heard every kind of sound in this place, machines beeping, nurses rushing, families weeping, but this sound was different. Fragile. Lonely. It made him stop and listen. He didn't know that the voice calling out softly that night would change his life and reveal who he truly was. The man everyone knew only as Mr. Iqbal, the night janitor, was a quiet presence in the hospital. Middle-aged, maybe in his late 40s, with graying hair peeking from beneath his cap and tired eyes that carried the weight of many sleepless nights. He always smiled, always greeted the staff with gentle politeness. Most people never looked twice at him. Just another man pushing a cart of cleaning supplies, humming softly to himself. No one guessed the truth behind his calm eyes or the reason he worked this job when he clearly didn't need to that night. As he made his rounds through the long, empty corridor, he heard her, a woman in one of the private rooms, whispering to herself between sobs. He hesitated, unsure if he should intrude, but something inside him nudged him forward. He knocked gently. "Who is it?" came a frail voice. "Just the janitor, ma'am. Sorry to disturb. You all right in there?" There was silence. Then, softly, she said, "Come in." Inside the dimly lit room sat a woman in her early 30s, pale and fragile against the white hospital bed. Her hair, once long and shining, had been cut short after treatment. A scarf was loosely tied around her head. She had the kind of beauty that sadness could not erase, gentle eyes and a face that had seen too much pain in too little time. "I didn't mean to cry so loudly," she said, trying to smile. I hate being alone at night." He nodded, stepping inside quietly. "Hospitals can be lonely places. Mind if I stay for a bit? I've finished my work." She blinked in surprise. "You'd stay? Even though it's late?" "I've got nowhere better to be," he said simply, pulling a chair beside her bed. They talked. She told him her name was Sarah, once a teacher, now a patient waiting for another round of tests. Her husband had left after her diagnosis. Her parents lived in another city, too old to visit often. "People disappear when life gets heavy," she said softly. "But you stayed." He smiled faintly. "Sometimes, people just need someone to sit with them. No words. Just presence." She looked at him curiously. "Why do you sound like someone who's lost a lot?" He chuckled, shaking his head. "Because I have." Every night for the next 2 weeks, he stopped by her room. He brought her tea from the vending machine, sometimes a newspaper, sometimes just stories of people he'd met, lessons he'd learned, moments of quiet beauty he noticed while mopping the floors. He made her laugh, and slowly, she began to look forward to his visits more than the doctor's. But even as Sarah grew stronger, something about him remained mysterious. She noticed how he sometimes stared out the window at midnight, lost in thought, his expression unreadable. She caught a glimpse once of a gold watch under his sleeve, too elegant for a janitor. And sometimes, the nurses treated him with subtle respect, as if they knew something others didn't. One rainy night, Sarah asked him directly. "Who are you really, Mr. Iqbal?" He smiled faintly. "Just a man who made mistakes and is trying to fix them, one kindness at a time." She wanted to ask more, but his tone carried a quiet finality. Still, his kindness had carved a place in her heart. Then came the night everything changed. Sarah had been discharged that morning, her condition stable. But she returned to the hospital that evening, not as a patient, but because she wanted to thank him before he disappeared again. When she arrived, the hospital was nearly empty. She found him in the corridor, wiping the same window he had cleaned 100 times before. "You're really leaving?" she asked, breathless. He smiled softly. "My shift ends tonight. Maybe my purpose here too." Before she could reply, the sound of an approaching engine broke the silence, the deep purr of a luxury car. Through the glass doors, a black limousine pulled up in front of the hospital. A man in a suit stepped out, nodding respectfully toward the janitor. "Sir," the driver said. "They're waiting for you." Sarah froze. "Sir," the janitor removed his cap slowly, revealing neatly combed hair streaked with silver. The tired eyes she'd known now looked calm and strangely powerful. He turned to her. "Sarah, I wasn't completely honest. I own this hospital chain. I come here at night, to remind myself what truly matters." Her lips parted in shock. "You're the owner?" He nodded. "Years ago, I lost my wife here. I was so caught up in money and success that I forgot what compassion meant. After she passed, I couldn't sleep knowing I'd built walls instead of bridges. So I came back, not as the man who owned the hospital, but as the janitor who cleaned its floors. I needed to feel human again." Tears welled in her eyes. "You didn't just clean floors, Mr. Iqbal. You cleaned hearts." He smiled, eyes glistening. "You helped me remember why I started all this, to heal people, not just treat them." The driver opened the door of the limousine, waiting. But he lingered a moment longer, reaching into his pocket. He handed her a small envelope. "For you," he said. "A scholarship fund. To help you teach again, when you're ready." Her hands trembled as she opened it, seeing her name printed on an official hospital letterhead. Her eyes met his one last time. "Will I ever see you again?" she whispered. He smiled softly. "Maybe. When you least expect it." And with that, the man who had mopped hospital floors like any other worker stepped into the limousine and disappeared into the night. Sarah stood by the glass doors, the reflection of her teary face merging with the city lights. In her heart, she felt something new, a quiet strength, a belief that kindness never hides behind status or wealth. It lives in the small moments, a stranger's comfort, a shared silence, a choice to stay when no one else will. That night, she whispered to herself, "Sometimes, angels don't have wings. They carry mops." And somewhere in the city, as the limousine faded into the distance, the man who had once been lost finally found peace, not in fortune or fame, but in the simple act of being human.